history.
In our history.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Mystery in Our History podcast, where we take an in-depth look at all things urban legend and conspiracy theory related and how they came to be. I am J.R. Supa, and joining me as always is Chris Berry.
Yep.
So on this week's episode, we're going to be we're going to start looking at one of the most famous and infamous, whatever word you want to use, conspiracy theories, which is aliens. So this is a very broad topic, obviously. It's very far-reaching. So we're going to be covering aliens over multiple episodes. I'm not sure if it's going to be 4 or 5 total episodes, but it's going to be up there. So we're going to start with ancient alien theories, and then we're going to move on to, obviously, Area 51, UFO sightings and aliens in the United States, aliens around the globe, and possibly other topics that tie into the alien conspiracy theory, which is like the Men in Black, stuff like that. So let's start off with ancient aliens. Obviously, I'm sure everybody's familiar with the TV show on, I think it's History Channel? History, right? Not Discovery.
I think it is History, yeah.
With Georgios Tsoukalos and all those guys that talk about ancient aliens.
I gotta be straight here. I have actually never seen that show in my life.
You're kidding.
Not one episode.
You've never seen a single episode of Ancient Aliens?
No, that's why this whole thing to me, when I was like going over, I was just like, oh, this is news to me. Oh, this is new.
Dude.
Oh, I didn't know that. So
you're in for a
it's something
ride.
I should probably check out. Yeah.
It's such a good show. But now they've expanded it. There's like multiple types of Ancient Alien shows. And, like, they give you, like, bonus content, which is just,
Why
it
not?
Still fits into the half hour, so I don't understand how it's bonus content.
Yeah, stack it up. Jeez.
All right, so let's dive into Ancient Aliens. So the first thing we're going to talk about is Pumapunku. So, obviously, we're not going to get into as much detail as Ancient Aliens. I think it's gone like 8 seasons or something crazy like that before they even started spin-offs. So this is just kind of a more of a Cliff Notes version of some of the topics that they talk about on Ancient Aliens, the show, just to kind of build a base for the future shows that we're going to do.
Yeah, I definitely need the Cliff Notes. So,
So Pumapunku is nestled in the remains of the ancient city of Tiahuanaco, Bolivia. It's the megalithic ruin site that archaeologists...
You got that one?
I stumbled through Tiahuanaco, and I couldn't pronounce archaeologists.
Archaeologists.
Exactly. Anyway, archaeologists believe that this site may be the cradle of civilization in South America, predating even the Mayans, which is kind of cool. Like, the first time I read that, I was like, wow.
Could have started there.
Yeah. So recent. Oh my God, dude, I can't talk today. Recent discoveries of monolithic structures, 15 to 20 meters under the surface of nearby Lake Titicaca, have led archaeologists Hugo Boero Rojo to calculate the depth of the structures found. Means that this area of Lake Titicaca was above water level at some point in the past. So archaeological evidence places that time between 11,700 and 10,800 BC. So this would make Tiahuanaco the oldest civilization known to man in the Americas, if not everywhere. I don't think it's everywhere though.
So when I was reading about this, I was having a hard time imagining it. Was it like underground like huts, or just like underground like the civilization that's submerged.
Think of like global warming,
Mm-hmm.
right? So like water levels rising.
Yeah.
So at some point, this civilization was actually just on land.
Right.
And then
I mean more or less like what they were, like how advanced they were, I guess. Was it just like an ancient civilization, or did it seem, well, yeah, I'm getting off topic here, but
well, so that's what this is. So essentially, let's discuss Pumapunku.
yeah.
All right. So Inca oral and written traditions tell of the site being located where the father god Viracocha, the god of action, shaper, of many worlds and destroyer of many worlds, mother of dragons, breaker of chains,
all that good stuff.
created the earth and the humans. So their legends explain that Viracocha created humans from the earth on a great rock, and he sectioned the rock and sent 2 giant servants to name the tribes of the world. So God and the 2 giant servants could be aliens, essentially, is what this is saying. Their oral tradition is like, and that's the premise of a lot of ancient alien theory, is these civilizations worshipped gods, and those gods are in effect just, I believe the term is ancient astronauts. So like the aliens came down and just gave them a bunch of technology, and then they worshipped them because they were so advanced.
Yeah. I've heard rumors here and there about especially hidden away in like ancient civilizations of proof of there being like a one true god, like almost like an evidence of it. But basically the whole truth would make you question your entire existence, so it's just kind of being suppressed or whatnot. But it sounds like this Viracocha could have been perhaps that one true god.
Well, I mean, yeah, think about it. Like, we've, as humans, like this age, right? So like all the generations that are living right now, we've all operated under the same assumption that there's never been evidence of any kind of actual alien interaction. Right, there's theories, there's conspiracies, there's stuff like this that we're talking about that like hints at it, but there's no direct like thing saying. And same thing with like all the religions, right? So like Christian religion, Muslim, Buddhist, Hindu, like there's so many different religions out there, right? So to think like one being, whatever it is, essentially like what terraformed Earth and then kind of started a science experiment,
right?
And that turned into us. Like that's essentially what that theory is like that one true God is really just like an ancient civilization that's just looking at us under a microscope, if you will.
Yeah, the creator, if you will.
Yeah. And that's absolutely nuts because like imagine if that's true, right? Everything is a lie.
Is a lie.
Right. Like every religion is wrong. Every thing that you believe and you think about is wrong. Like it would be mass hysteria. It would be complete and total chaos if that was if that's the truth.
I'm always curious what that unveiling would look like if you were to see that today. Like,
and that's what's going to be hidden in Area 51.
Probably.
We're gonna get it.
We're gonna get it in a couple of weeks.
I want to go.
It's ours.
I want to go next month. I really do.
You're just gonna go do it.
Mm-hmm.
Be sure to record it for everyone.
I want to. I just want to watch everyone else die because there's no way they're getting in.
No.
And like think about it. There's what, like 2 million. We'll get into this more when we talk about like Area 51 and the history of Area 51. But like there's 2 million people signed up on Facebook, if not more now. So like let's just say you get like, even if you get like 30,000, what is that? 3%, 10%, something like that. I don't even know. I can't do math right now. But like even if 30,000 go, like all of the hotels are booked near Area 51. They're already sold out for that
Oh
weekend.
my god,
So like,
that's so overwhelming. They're gonna get overwhelmed.
yeah, the smartest thing anyone could do is like throw a music festival or something there that weekend, because you're gonna make so
Yeah.
much money. All the hotels are already booked, right? So just do, or like Comic-Con. Comic-Con should be there that weekend,
There you go.
because
Just
it'll
a
be
pop-up
completely
Comic-Con.
sold out.
Absolutely.
But anyway, I would just want to record them all just getting mowed down by freaking 50 cal machine guns as they like
That's
charge
awful.
the gates.
Just incinerating people.
Oh my god, it would be
Yikes.
that's what people don't understand. It's like, oh, the government won't do anything. They don't want the bad publicity, blah blah blah. But like, essentially, storming Area 51 is an act of domestic terrorism. Yeah,
Oh, absolutely.
you know what I mean. Like, you're
Absolutely.
attacking a armed forces, an armed base. Like you're attacking a base.
Also, we just reinstilled a federal death penalty, so I don't think the government's too worried about bad press right now. They're doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, all on their own.
Yeah.
All right.
Jesus.
Anyway, I digress. So let's go back to Pumapunku. Sorry. All right. So the pinnacle of Pumapunku is what's referred to as the Gateway of the Sun, and that depicts Viracocha coming through, or Coca, I don't know, whatever, coming through a type of stargate, right? So the carving is created from a single 12-ton stone, or the Great Rock, right? That's referenced before we got on that huge tangent. And it's scattered. And scattered around the site, right, are these monolithic stones, these giant stones that are precisely cut and routed in multiple levels with like perfect right angles, perfect straight lines. So essentially imagine like a stone that has like a staircase almost going through the center, like towards the center of the stone, and everything is a perfect right angle. Everything is a perfect straight line. Like, and don't forget, like, this is all happening like 10,000 years before the Common Era.
Primitive.
So like, right, so like they're not supposed to like have this, right? So like many of the blocks there are cut in like perfect interlocking shapes. And they don't have, this is what, Stone and Bronze Age, 10,000 years,
Yeah.
right? So they don't have the tools to do this. Like, you can't do that with bronze weapons or bronze tools. So that's where, like, the only explanation that people say could have done this is they had some kind of a machine or machine tools similar to a diamond tip quarry saw, which is used in like in masonry drills and stuff like that, used today. But those are all powered by electricity or internal combustion engines. So like that didn't exist for a very long time after that. So how is it happening? Is essentially
right.
the thing.
Where are the tools coming from?
Right.
Like, we don't have them yet. It's funny you say it's the gateway to the sun. Now, here's a theory that I 100% believe in are stargates. I think stargates are...
Like the TV show?
Yeah, like the TV show, like, legit. I think it was basically... I feel like Stargate is almost a documentary on it.
Well, I feel like all these shows like that, they come from these conspiracy theories.
Right. Well,
like you take the theory
maybe,
and you go, ooh, that's a cool idea. Let's expand on that.
Right. Well, the theory is that Stargate was made off the idea of the real Stargate we have, almost released as like a false... God, I'm lacking the word what it's called right now, but basically when you put the truth out there in fraud or in broad daylight, so people overlook it as it not being a thing that could exist, like a Stargate.
Oh, like false.
So,
yeah, I know. I can't think of the word either. But
I can't think of the term. But basically, I've heard that the U.S. has reversed engineered Stargate, basically in the States, and that there are natural or left behind ones overseas in the Middle East. I forget exactly where they said in the Middle East, but I don't know. This is all on a conspiracy board too, so
Yeah.
You
But,
see
like,
stuff, you go, is that real? Is that not? Whatever.
And that's the crazy part too, is like, so think about this, right? Stargates, let's just say Stargates exist. I don't believe in like, this is one of the only conspiracy theories where I am moderately skeptical as opposed to extremely skeptical as far
That's
as
fair.
aliens go, right? Because, like,
Okay.
it's real hard to justify that in the vastness and infinitum of the universe
That we're alone.
right, like, that we're the only thing.
Right. It's pretty.
And even if it's not some super advanced civilization, there's got to be something out
Right.
there. You know what I mean? Like, that's just my thing. However, I, as a not super religious person, I fully think that God of gods concept, like, that's what I've thought before I even got into this, is like, what if we're just some science experiment?
Right. Right.
You know what I mean?
Or
Like,
just,
they saw, this planet forming, and they were like, ooh, this is like the perfect conditions, because that's what they're doing. They're just going out going, what would happen? And they're just recording it for data purposes, and they're watching how civilizations evolve over time.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I still believe in evolution. I still believe in, what science proves from going from, like, single-celled organisms and getting to where we are today. But I feel like it could have been easily just been like, okay, let's start it.
Right. No, absolutely.
But the fact that, like, they have stargates. So I got a little off topic, but I'm trying to bring it back around. It's like, if they have stargates, that means we're exploring so much more than the greatest minds of society. Let me make sure I get both quotes in there in the video
Right,
for whoever
right.
watches this on YouTube. But, like, guys like Neil deGrasse Tyson, who are supposed to be, like, some of the smartest physicists on the planet, who have the most knowledge about space and the mathematics involved in space travel and all that kind of stuff. Like, this is knowledge that they don't have.
Right.
So, if it exists, think about this. If it exists, how many people who are even smarter than that guy, meaning Neil deGrasse Tyson, how many people are smarter than him? Because they're only going to take the best of the best to come and work on this thing.
Exactly.
So, like,
Exactly.
there's a team of people. And you know what? For all we know, he could be on it. Like, we don't know. But
You never know.
if they have a Stargate, there's a team of people that are operating this thing. If it's actually, like, if they've reversed engineered it, that means it's operational, right?
Exactly. Yep.
So, like,
we
you don't need space travel. You know what I mean? Like, at that point, NASA is a joke.
Right.
And,
so
we'll get into that too, because I fully believe that the moon landing was fake. But anyway,
that's fair.
Yeah, we'll
well,
get.
the-
But that's
the
that's
theory
a story
is-
for another episode.
Is those stargates are only connected on Earth. They don't go past Earth's atmosphere, basically.
Oh, so you're saying it's just like teleportation. So, like,
Yeah,
there's a
so just
Stargate.
going-
There's a Stargate in Area 51, and there's a Stargate in I don't know, whatever England's version of Area 51 is.
right.
And there's just two Stargates, and if I want to go there, I can just be like, boop, here I am.
Yep. That's the thought anyway,
Okay.
or that's the speculation behind it.
Gotcha. I mean, that makes a lot more sense to me than, like, having a Stargate that just goes someplace else. You know what I mean? Like, you're just typing coordinates in, and all of a sudden, if there's a Stargate there, you're just like, okie dokie, here I am at a new fucking planet. And it's like,
Zipping right there.
yeah, it's because it's like, how do you know? You know what I mean? Somebody walks into the Stargate, they never come back. Like, Okay, that didn't work. Next.
Right. Yeah.
You're just like throwing homeless people into the Stargate and go, if you can get back, we'll give you $1 million, and they don't come back. So it's like, okay, well that guy's dead. Let's try somebody else.
They're motivated.
Yeah.
They're not getting back.
All right, so back to Pumapunku and these monolithic stones, right? So obviously they didn't have electricity in 11,000 BC, right? So how did they make all this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the only explanation is if they were advanced enough to have a what we were calling it there, the gateway of the sun. That they would probably have something similar to either a Tesla arc or something along that line. And basically the idea of the Tesla arc, if for people that aren't familiar, is basically it's a device that draws all the energy that's just in the air around us. It just pulls it out of the air and just makes it an electricity source, sort of say.
And again, like that, but this is the Bronze Age, right? So you need specific tools for the Tesla arc. So even if they had the Tesla arc to power the equipment that they didn't have, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's still like, where did it all come from? You know what I mean? Like,
it had to have been like gifted or yeah.
Right. Now, here's another thing about Pumapunku that I thought was kind of crazy. Right, so on the shores of Lake Titicaca, right, around the same region where Pumapunku is located, archaeologists found a unique stone dish that they named Fuente Magna. And my Spanish is rusty, so I'm not even going to try and translate it. But the amazing fact about this dish is that it's covered in Proto-Sumerian writing. Okay, so why is that shocking? Is because the Sumerian civilization was located in the Middle East.
Oh, okay.
So it had a language from the Middle East, right? So that means the two civilizations are divided by almost 5,000 miles, a vast ocean, a lack of technological ability to build vessels capable of crossing that ocean. And in addition, the ancient Sumerian language was not used in pre-Columbian civilization, right? Because they're saying like ancient Sumeria, that part of the world is considered the birthplace of all civilization.
Absolutely, dude.
So,
it's
but the language did not necessarily make it into civilizations as they spread out. They developed other civilizations. You know what I mean? It's like the Latin civilizations are kind of influenced by like German.
right.
You know what I mean? So like there's different ways of languages being, created and stuff. So how did that dish get across an ocean to Lake Titicaca? And also,
yeah.
I hope that you are proud of me because I have not cracked a smile once saying Lake Titicaca until
I am
right
proud.
now.
I gave you a smirk the first time you said it.
I know, I saw that. I was trying to be so professional, but I can't say Lake Titicaca this many times and not bring it up.
So many times. Also, that language being there, it makes more sense thinking about that other Stargate being in the Middle East. Just saying.
Right, like, and like as I don't know, as far as the Stargates go, I'm still a little, but like it really does like make you go, well, how did it get there, right? Was it the same group of aliens helping both? You know what I mean? Like, was a group of aliens just helping both civilizations kind of like flourish?
Just like a few in different like parts of the world that all had a gate to travel between each other. Who knows? Yeah.
And it's like it's crazy to think about it because you know me, like I'm not one to just jump on board and be like, oh my god, this is like the thing. But like, dude, how? Explain it to me. Somebody explain to me how that gets there when there was like no ships that could cross an ocean at that time.
Right. Well, that's how these conspiracies live in the first place. Because
Right.
again, it's like you can't prove to me that that's not happening, but if you could prove to me even that it didn't happen, I'll take that as well.
Yeah, I'll
But
take whatever.
there's
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 no
none
proof
either
one way or
way.
the other.
Right.
Yeah. Um, yeah, and that's crazy. So then we get to, right, when the Spanish explorers are coming now, right? So the Spanish explorers land in Bolivia, and the inhabitants of the Tiahuanaco region. Just
It's a lot of big ones
I
here.
know it's so many. So the inhabitants of that region thought that the gods of Viracocha had returned, and in reality, all that came was syphilis. that's that's all the Spanish explorers brought were just fucking disease.
Jeez, dude. Yeah.
But
Thanks for showing up.
yeah, but the thing is that the oral traditions of that region describe the gods as having light skin and reddish hair, and the Spanish explorers had lighter skin than the Colombians did, and they wore shiny armor and arrived in giant ships, right? That these people had no previous exposure to. So like that's what all of this kind of like that's when so then when these people came they were like, oh my god, these are gods, and that's why it was so easy for the Spanish explorers to just like take over all these areas because they just thought they were gods to begin with.
Yeah.
Plus they had, I'm pretty sure, guns had been invented by that time, right, when the Spanish explorers were coming over, even if they were like the first guns, like
Yeah, like
blunderbusses and all
gunpowder.
that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, but still, like, even if guns didn't exist, they had like armor. You know what I mean? They had this shiny metal that like these people might not have been working with, and but they matched the description of something that these people already had in their oral traditions. So like that's the other thing too, is like because they always say like, oh, the aliens are like little green men or like these little gray, you know what I mean? So that's why it's kind of crazy that like they had this in their oral tradition already, and then the Spanish explorers come and they're like, oh, welcome back, guys. And then they all got murdered.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on from Pumapunku, we're going to take a look at ancient alien technology, right, throughout history. So, again, another big word for me to mispronounce.
Here it is.
Okay, so Antikythera. The Antikythera mechanism. I'm hoping that's how it's pronounced.
It sounded pretty good.
Right?
Yeah.
Is believed to have been created around 60 to 80 BC. Again, long time ago, right?
Very early.
Shortly before it was sunken in a Roman shipwreck off the island of Antikythera. Hence the name of the mechanism, which is located near Greece. So, although the device was badly corroded when they found it, and many parts had completely deteriorated over the 2,000 years it was submerged under the water, I guess they've recently revealed its secrets using X-ray and gamma ray analysis. So that means we're gonna get the Hulk soon too, right?
I hope so.
Right? If we're fucking around with gamma rays.
Reflect some of that shit on
Absolutely.
Bruce.
All right. So essentially, this is the first computer ever invented, is what they're saying. Because the device is an astronomical calculator that accurately tracks the movements of the sun, the movements of the moon, and predicts eclipses, lunar cycles, and seasons. And it's important to understand that this device is so amazingly advanced for its time, right? Like this is still, like, according to the Christian religion, Jesus hadn't been born yet. This is still before him. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like, it's so advanced that no other device with similar mathematics or engineering were invented for another 1,000 years.
That's insane.
And it was. I'm trying. Let me make sure I get this correct because I want to read this correctly. So it was so advanced that no other device with similarities in mathematics and engineering was invented for over 1,000 years, when a much simpler and much larger 8-geared lunar solar calculator was built into an astrolabe by al-Biruni, who was an Iranian scholar of the medieval Islamic era. So that's like, medieval is like 1300s, 1200s. Like, that's maybe the start of it, right? Like,
Yeah,
it's in the
right.
thousands, though, right? It's not like the 900s. Like, medieval was like somewhere in the 11, 12, 13, and then you kind of had the knights and all that kind of stuff. But like, medieval era, that's like 11, 1200s. So that's 1,000 years before anything came close to what this mechanism that they found was. And I think the only reason why that's so is because this one was lost, right? Like, it was lost at sea, so no one ever had the chance to see it and travel and utilize it and stuff like that. Because, like, when you think about it, Greece and Iran are way closer. I could be wrong. I'm not a great geography person, but Greece and Iran have to be closer than the Middle East and Bolivia, right? It's less than 5,000 miles.
I want to say that sounds right. I don't know. I'm not that.
Like, it's gotta be. Yes, it is. In fact, I looked it up just now. It is 1,838 miles from Greece to Iran. It's not even close.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And there's no ocean. There's a couple bodies of water, but there's still plenty of land that you can just cross. You don't even need to cross a body of water to get from Greece to Iran. Okay? So you're telling me that, like, or what I'm saying is, like, if this thing never gets sunk, there's easily a chance that somebody else builds off this.
Right. And it's crazy to me because this is one of those situations where it's just like, if you're a denier of conspiracy theories, how do you just explain away something as complex as this device, right?
Like, it's not, and people aren't making stuff up. Like, obviously these are hypotheses.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was so intrigued by this device that I looked it up when I started reading about it, just to give myself an idea. And, like, honestly, there's really just two explanations for it, and that's either, like, the tech was given to them by an advanced race of people, or the people who lived on this earth before us, before we even started recording history, were just far more advanced than we give them credit for, and all of that technology, all of that is just gone, or it's buried somewhere, maybe frozen underwater. Who knows? Who knows where it is? But it's not here. We don't have it.
But if that's the case, if they were more advanced than we gave them credit for, where's the documentation? Because they would be advanced enough to document and you know what I mean? Like, have recorded history.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be lost somewhere. You know, maybe under the pole caps. Maybe we had a polar shift. Who knows? You know what I mean? It's just, again, I mean, if you ever read about Antarctica, it's such a hands-off area that, you know, civilians aren't allowed over there at all.
Yeah, and there could be so much there we don't know about. I mean,
people theorize Atlantis is there.
Yeah, there's glaciers that are, like, so deep and so tall, or however you want to call it. You know what I mean? That, like, you can't just get through them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, they're still at the point where they're, like, drilling into these glaciers just to get information on what, like, it was like when the dinosaurs were roaming the earth, because they can, like, study the rocks and stuff and, like, figure out, you know, when the meteor hit and all that kind of stuff. But, like, that's just taking a drill and essentially bringing out a long tube of ice, maybe this big,
Right.
and just
Yep.
taking samples of it. Like, they're not down there figuring out what's down there.
Right. Yeah.
So
Or as far as we know.
right,
You never know.
right.
They could be.
So, but now check this out, right? So, Al-Biruni creates this lunar solar calculator, right? 1,000 years after. The level of technology, comparatively speaking, in the two devices, essentially Al-Biruni's calculator is the equivalent of creating the pager today after the iPhone already existed. Like, that's the difference in technology between these two devices. Like, it took 1,000 years. Essentially, it's like Apple comes out with the iPhone, and then 1,000 years later, someone was like, "Ooh, I've made the pager."
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, because that device was so advanced, and then I mean, you've seen these medieval telescopes, and that's what I'm assuming this thing looks like.
there
almost.
was a telescope. I forgot whose telescope it was, but it was like one of the very, very early galaxy observers, right? And it was so long that like 4 people had to hold it with him, just so that he could look through it, and they had to keep it steady, and it was like so long and so cumbersome and like all that kind of stuff. So
It's crazy.
but so going into more detail, I know this is a lot of geek speak, so bear with me, but the mathematics involved in the gear arrangements and the detailed engineering and manufacturing of the parts in the Antikythera mechanism were far beyond the believed capabilities of the Greeks in the 1st century of BC. Essentially, the precision and craftsmanship that it would have taken to create this device, or that was used, I should say, to create this device, don't coincide with the iron and the bronze tools that they had during this time. Like, they didn't have the tools to really make this device so precisely.
Right. Yeah, I was gonna say this was a time where like there was no distractions for humans, so advancing knowledge was a big pastime that we would see with the Greek.
Yeah, and I mean,
but
so
yeah, you just can't explain away the tools.
Right.
You know, you would need that, or if they had something that could make this stuff,
they
would have documentation or something left behind.
Right, like Da Vinci recorded all of his experiments, recorded all of his inventions, like stuff like that, where it's just like it's there. But like, and going off of what you said too is, so I think it's possible with this mechanism that they, even though it says like the precision doesn't coincide with the tools of the time, that's possible. But you made a very good point that there were no distractions back then, right? There's no TV. There's no nothing,
phone.
right? There's barely anything to read at that point. You know what I mean? Like, you have nothing going on but whatever it is you do. So whoever created this, we don't know how long it took him, or you know what I mean? And I'm just assuming it's him because of that's just the time that it was. Like, this is not when women were not like really allowed to do this stuff. So whoever invented this, like, it could have taken them their entire life to create it.
Yeah.
And it was sunk off the coast of Greece by the Romans. Like, how pissed off would you be?
Seriously,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I wonder if it's just like something they salvaged and had on their ship. Even it didn't even belong to them. They found it and were like, "Oh, this shit's crazy. Let's take this home."
But that, you know what I mean? So like that's like a devil's advocate thing of like, it might be plausible that if it's just somebody who worked on, it was just somebody who was super smart, who just worked on this their whole life, and figured it out, and then the technology was lost. It might have not had any kind of interference of any outside source, but it seems unlikely.
Right. I agree.
Right. So here, this is going to be a very difficult to follow explanation, because I still can't follow it. But it's so this device. How advanced is this device? Okay. If the device was created in 100 BC, it was used to compute calendrical computation. The required math needed for this device to do so, to do what experts think it did, wouldn't be discovered until 1627 by Johannes Kepler, when he revealed the 3 laws of planetary motion. So that's 1,500 years apart, right? Now, I have a quote from, and it's not really a quote, it's more of a fucking droning explanation, but I feel like it's necessary to read it. But I will say that anyone listening can feel free to hit the skip forward buttons at this time. Professor Michael Edmonds of Cardiff University explains the mechanism thusly. The moon's movement isn't constant. It speeds up and slows down. This is because its orbit isn't exactly circular. Instead, it's slightly egg-shaped. The point furthest from the Earth is the apogee, and the point closest to the Earth is the perigee. When it is near the apogee, it travels slowly, but when it moves closer to the Earth, it picks up speed until it passes the perigee, and then it slows down again, kind of like a eternal slingshot. That's the only part I understood, by the way.
That's the easy stuff.
Right. This is called the first lunar anomaly. I'm trying to, spruce it up. The difference is noticeable by the naked eye if you're willing to make systematic observation. This is all simply explained by Kepler's laws of planetary motion. I beg to differ about the simply part, but okay. There's a small problem, though. Kepler used ellipses. You can't use elliptical gears, right? Gears don't operate with an ellipses. They have to be circular. The point of gears is that they must have intermeshing teeth. An elliptical gear would lose contact with the driving gear as its axis changed. That's axis, not access. Sorry. Instead, it seemed that the mechanism used 2 gears. One slightly off axis. I don't know what my problem is today. One slightly off axis from the other. The rotation was connected by a pin and slot arrangement so that the one gear wouldn't turn at quite the same rate as the other gear. The on-axis gear can then be turned reliably by the drive gears, while the motion of the moon can be driven by the off-axis gear. So you have a device that can track the sidereal, synodic, and anomalistic months. None of those words I know. All while the Earth is spinning around the sun. Stay with me, because this will all be over soon. There's another problem. Dun dun dun. The lunar anomaly describes the moon's travel from one apogee to the next. This apogee is also rotating around the Earth, because it's not complicated enough. If the apogee is in Aries, then 2 and a bit years later it will be in Cancer. These are constellations, for those of you who are completely lost just here. And another 2 and a bit, it will move into Libra until it has traveled through the zodiac over about 9 years. So now we have a device which tracks the moon around the Earth, and its phases, and its variable speed, and variations in that variability, while also keeping track of the sun's position, potential lunar and solar eclipses, and intercalculation cycles, so you know when to stick the extra month into the year and keep the lunar months in step with the solar year around some gears. Holy crap, some mounted slightly off axis to create a pseudo sinusoidal variation using circular gears to replace the ellipses. In other words, the Antikythera mechanism is extremely complex.
You can say that again. Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. That was a mouthful.
Nobody knows. Nobody listening to this knows
No.
what the hell I just said.
But like, I feel like some things do make sense here, though, because
Right.
we're talking about people who almost worship the sun, star, the stars, sun,
Yeah.
moon, just space in general. And again, going back to they just have no distractions at that time.
Right.
They had all this time when they're not hunting or surviving or doing whatever around the village to make basically survival thing they could do. They would study stars and focus on how the sun and moon move around the Earth. I mean, it doesn't explain everything, but it can. I mean, I feel like it could explain a lot of it. It could be someone's lifelong project work. So,
Yeah. All right, so moving on from that insanely complex and unbelievably wordy explanation of a ancient alien technology, let's move on to the Kimbaya airplanes, because these are freaking awesome and I love them. And if you watch the show Ancient Aliens, almost all of them have a little pin on their lapel of these planes.
nice.
Like it's a thing that they do. Whatever. Anyway,
They love them.
so the Kimbaya airplanes are golden artifacts found in Colombia and made by the Kimbaya civilization.
Gotta do it every time for that inflection.
I don't want to.
All
Dated
right.
between 1000 BC and 1000 AD, so that's 2,000 years that they're dated between. Meh. I feel like we're better than that, but whatever. Many represent modern airplane designs, and are considered to be out of place and unexplainable artifacts.
Yeah. Being someone who's never watched Ancient Aliens, this is definitely new to me, and I've
These
never
things
heard of it.
These are so cool.
Yeah, this is gonna be good. Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm into it.
So what makes these airplane models so amazing is that they are aerodynamically accurate, right? So like they fly. Essentially, in 1994, German aeronautical engineers Peter Belting and Konrad Lubers created large-scale radio-controlled models of the artifact. I'm sorry, did I get you with that?
Lubers was
Lubers. So they proved that the designs fly with both a single propeller or jet power. Like aeronautically and aerodynamically, they work. It doesn't matter what's powering them. It could be a jet engine or it could be a propeller. The lift, the actual mathematics of the lift work.
So it just gets you up there. That's that is where things kind of get odd.
Because
going
that's
back-
900 years, right? If it's 1000 AD, that's
right.
That's 900 years, almost 1,000 years before the Wright brothers.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's weird because maybe because I mean, going back to the mechanism, if they were able to make the mechanism, why wouldn't they be able to make these paper airplane or not paper airplanes? I'm sorry, these airplanes, paper
Paper
I mean, all these things.
Yeah.
Again, it just goes back to arguing like.
Right.
Maybe there was so much advanced technology that got destroyed in some sort of mass extinction event.
Well, so this is the thing, right? So how if these things are aerodynamically correct, how could the pre-Columbians, right? So like before Columbians existed, in 1000 BC, how could they understand the concepts of aerodynamic lifts and the designs therein, right? So this was a civilization that had barely developed the ability to use bronze tools and still lived in brick structures, right? Like and like used live flames for light. So how are they going to be flying?
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be a gift from a visitor, or
it's
either the
just something
tools
they
or just the
witnessed.
knowledge, or yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like
exactly.
if like
They saw
let's-
something shoot through the sky.
right, or ancient aliens came and said, "Hi guys, I'm we're here. Here's some technology. Here's some stuff. Here's worship me like a god." And then that was their thing. Essentially, you know what it is almost looks like a ghost from Halo.
Okay, yeah.
Remember the ghost? Not the phantom, not the thing that actually flies through the air, but the ghost, the little purple
like-
thing with the two little wings.
It's like a bike.
Yeah, the alien version of the four-wheeler.
Okay.
That's what it looks like.
Okay. I'm trying to visualize it. I didn't
Yeah.
play a lot of Halo. I think I know what you're talking about though.
Yeah. But so that was like, so maybe they just kind of like, but my point is that it looks like that, right? So now get into that headspace where it's like, maybe that's what those visitors used for transportation.
Right.
Right.
So,
So like
make
they
a
had,
Mach 1.
right, they had their alien spacecraft parked up here, or they landed somewhere else and then they just used these to explore.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
But so that's the technology that makes you think like, holy shit, like, could it be?
Yeah. Was it gifted or
Mm-hmm.
did they truly know back then? Oh yeah.
All right, so let's move on to the last category of ancient aliens, which is aliens in art. Which this is kind of the weirdest one for me. Like, all the other stuff is kind of plausible. This stuff is just like...
What the hell?
Well, and plus, like, art is all interpretation. Especially the stuff that's, like, people are dead.
Oh, for
you know
sure.
what I mean?
Yep.
So, like... But anyway, Visoki Dikani Monastery. Hope I pronounced that right. Will be the first time today. It's situated in the western part of the Serbian province of Kosovo. By the way, you are way too nice to me for not fucking being able to speak today.
Oh, I'm no better, dude. I mean, if I were in your shoes, I'd be so embarrassed and be stumbling everywhere. So, I'm glad you're taking the heat for me.
Yeah. This was built between 1327 and 1335 by King Saint Stephen of Dikani, and was dedicated to the ascension of the Lord. Within the monastery are several fresco paintings from famous scenes described in the Bible. In the cathedral, there is a painting called The Crucifixion of Christ, which shows two flying objects in the upper left and right of the scene, piloted by beings who appear to be holding some kind of a steering control. These are not angels, because they would have had halos and wings like the other angels depicted in the painting. And so this proves that they were not divine beings. Well, it doesn't prove, that's the speculation. They have no idea what it was actually there, but
Right.
some speculate that they could represent the sun and the moon, which makes sense. But these objects are not personified as characters or deities by the Christian church. Right, so like there's no god of the sun, no god of the moon. There's no Apollo, that drags the sun across the sky every morning in the Christian faith or the Catholic faith. So it doesn't make sense that they would be being operated by anything.
Right. Yeah, so after taking a look at that picture, because I've never heard of this one either. So I took a look at the picture, and it does indeed look like people flying devices through the sky, like some sort of vehicle. And it's odd because they just look like regular ass people. They're not aliens at all. They're just like little. They just look like little dudes. Some dude in a thing, just like me, like through the thing. It's just like, what the hell is this? Yeah. Just like very serious painting, and then there's like this jackass in the background and this device like scooting along. So yeah, like what is that?
Yeah, I don't know, and it's weird, but again, like this is all just conjecture and speculation because
it's art.
Right, exactly, it's art.
Art could be anything. It could be interpreted
precisely.
Anything, so.
And I mean, I feel like in this sense, It could be anything. When you go back and look at like because there's other stuff like cave drawings and stuff, and other things that I'll talk about in here too. But like that makes more sense because they're writing down or drawing or depicting what they've seen, whereas like this is a painting that was done 1,300 years after the event.
Makes you want to pick their brain.
Yeah, so much. Like, why did you put that there?
Yeah, what is
you
that?
know what I mean? But so, branching off of that, one of the most significant archaeological finds of the 20th century was the tomb of Kanich Janab Pakal. And I'm going to be calling him Kanish for the rest of this.
Ken Kanish.
Ken Kanish. He was the ruler of the Mayan city of Palenque from 615 to 683 AD, which is a pretty good lifespan for somebody living that far long ago.
Absolutely.
Anyway, Kanish's tomb was found in the Pyramid of Inscriptions, right? So this discovery gave evidence to the fact that Mayans buried their rulers in a very similar fashion to the ancient Egyptians, yet it's still believed neither civilization knew the other existed. So, could be a coincidence, or it could have been that the same aliens...
I got it. Again, it goes back to the Stargates for me. You know,
Or
maybe
Stargates, or the God of Gods, or whatever.
Yep. Are they all learned? Yeah. Are they learning it from the same God? You know, are they talking to the same entities? Who knows?
Right. So, the lid on Kanish's tomb describes how his soul would return to the stars from where he came, and it shows the ruler seated upon the monster of the sun, which I guess is the translation, right? So this term and the carving are clearly trying to communicate that Kanish took off from the Earth in a spacecraft.
It's cool. I've seen theories out there that speculate that once you die, basically your life is just borrowing from the cosmos or from the universe itself. So once you die, you just kind of float back and give back, and then could potentially recycle you, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what they're doing.
That's possible. I mean, and so check it out, right? So if you examine this carving, you'll see a 2D interpretation of Kanish seated in a horizontal position. Just like the astronauts of today have to be seated to prevent them from passing out from the G-forces when they take off in a rocket to outer space. It's the same, you know what I mean? He's situated that way, right? So it looks like he's also handling controls with his hands, and he's also working pedals with his feet, just like astronauts do now in flight capsules. And he even has something connected to his nose. So the thought is that that's like something that's supplying him with air during the flight. Excuse me. And the decorations on the monster of the sun resemble the intricate technology controls and mechanisms that we would see on modern-day spacecrafts. Now, I don't know if that's really accurate. But
like
if
levers.
You're looking at like everything else, then maybe... You know what I mean? And I guess there's also like implied flames and smoke from the thrusters at the bottom of the craft.
Yeah. It's just so weird. I mean, when you think about it, I mean, how much do we really know about space today?
Right.
I mean, we don't know a goddamn thing, really. I mean, we know it exists, and we're trying to understand it.
Comparatively speaking to the vastness of space, no, we know nothing.
Right. And we know much more today than they know then.
Right.
But, or maybe, right? Or like, what do they know that we don't?
Right.
Like, it's almost like they knew
like,
something.
We think we know more because we're
Right.
so much further advanced in our civilizations and technology, but we really don't know. But so all of that said about Kanish, right? Here's the crazy part. According to the people who discovered this, Kanish was not in the tomb when it was discovered.
Get out of here.
So he was documented to have lived roughly 80 years. Okay? Before he returned to the stars.
Right.
The remains of the person in the tomb was a 40-year-old man.
It's a patsy. It's got to be a patsy, right? That's God.
So that's now. However, I will say this. I will make this point because it is possible that there's some embellishment in the oral tradition and the writings and the information that we have from these cultures, because I spent 16 years in Catholic school, which is partly the reason why I am not religious. But there are multiple people in the Bible, and I want to say Moses was one of them, but I don't want to be quoted saying that it was definitely him. But there are definitely people in the Bible who are said to have lived like over 100 years, 300 years. They like die when they're like 350 years old. But my point is that like it could be a translation error. It could be
That's fair.
adding to the mysticality of it. I'm not saying that he didn't go back to the stars. I'm just saying that maybe he didn't actually have a spaceship that he could leave on and maybe came from. I don't know. But the person in the tomb was 40 years old. That doesn't mean it wasn't him. It just means that it might not have been him.
Right. Yeah, it's weird. Because, like, even from what we know today...
fucked up.
Right. Well, like, even from what we know today is, like, life expectancy back then was way lower with just diseases and everything. You know, we didn't have modern medicine back then. And obviously it wasn't unheard of to have someone around that was 80 years old, but it was pretty damn rare.
Mm-hmm. The life expectancy is like 30 at this time. The life expectancy is like 30 to 40 years old.
Yeah, I would be on my deathbed right now, like if I was alive back then, or dead already.
I'm pretty sure I would not have made it. They would have thrown me off a cliff.
Oh
when
yeah,
I was an
yeah,
infant.
right in the garbage.
Well,
Cliff, that's being nice.
Yeah.
Toss you out back.
You know, but like, so that is a relatively brief overview of the ancient aliens and the ancient theories, ancient astronaut theories, as it's said in the show. So that's where we're going to stop for today, and we will pick up next episode with more modern aliens, including Area 51.
Yeah, that's my wheelhouse. I'm
Yes.
ready. I'm ready for that.
I am very pumped as well. As always, if you have any urban legends or conspiracy theories that you think we should cover, feel free to post them on the YouTube page underneath the video. And please make sure to click the like and subscribe icons. And thank you for listening. And we will see you next time on the Mystery in Our History podcast.